Hello, my spooky darlings. So, because I've missed so many days of October already, and I was planning on trying to make at least a couple of videos a week for you guys of October, because it is the spooky month. Like, we need to have some spookiness, you know? Okay, anyhow, what I wanted to do in this one is give you the mostly true or have been proven partially true urban legend take. Now, for this one, I have 5 urban legends. One at the very end that I'm going to name that is from my personal state. And I didn't even know this urban legend, so it was kind of cool to look into it a little bit. It doesn't have very much behind it because, of course, it is like an actual regional urban legend, which there are a few, like the Jersey Devil and such like that are like that. But I didn't know that this one even existed, so that was a little terrifying to find out this kind of creepy stuff about. So let's go ahead and get into number 1. The most popular one, I think, by far, is the rats in the toilet, where everybody's heard about this because New York City has, alligators in their sewer system. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, in 1999 in Pittsburgh, Virginia, there was a lovely lady that had a rodent bite her on her rump after it emerged from her toilet. So this urban legend really does actually have some factual parts to it. See, rats can get into very minute spaces. They can, I believe it was 2 inches of space that they can get into. As long as they have this 2 inches, they can get into it. So it's not unheard of for them to go inside of the S shape of your toilet and emerge out the top. There's also other animals that have been commonly known to do this, like snakes and frogs. So I found that really interesting that there's 3 inches is the diameter that a rat can fit into. I had to look at my paper for it. But, yeah, and they can survive because of the factor of being in such harsh environments. Rats can handle being in the sewer lines. So I found that one terrifying, that it's actually real. Now, number 2 is going to be one that I think everybody's seen only because of the popular movie that was released in 1992, and that's Candyman. I think everybody as a child has either sat in their bathroom and called Bloody Mary or the Candyman at least once. But I think very few actually realize that it is a true story about a man. Well, actually, it isn't about a man. See, the story that's true about it is the factor that in 1987, in the Chicago Reader, there was Ruth McCoy, a woman who lived in Chicago in the housing projects. She called 911 frantically because there was a man that crawled through her medicine cabinet, just like in the film, just like in Clive Barker's film. He crawled through her medicine cabinet because the company had made these medicine cabinets to be able to be pulled out so that they could work in the lines between the housings, between the apartments. So you literally, if there was a vacant apartment, you could get into the next apartment. So he murders her, and the only reason they even knew was because of her frantic 911 call. He literally climbed through her medicine cabinet and murdered her. That's terrifying. Like, it's one thing to think that this is just a story about a guy, and, it's sad that when you think of the factor that he was a African-American man who in 1890 fell in love with a white woman and got her pregnant and then was slaughtered for it. That's a horrifying film to begin with. But when you take into consideration that in the movie, the part that basically makes it capable for him to get into her home to murder her is a real thing that was happening in Chicago. And that it was happening in multiple cases. This is just one that's actually documented. There was multiple complaints of people breaking into their apartments through medicine cabinets. that's personally terrifying for me because they keep that idea in later sequels where the medicine cabinet is how you get in. So I personally think maybe Clive Barker had a little bit of an inspiration from that story. I don't think he took the whole thing from it, but at the same time, that's very creepily similar for it not to be at least inspired from it. So, yeah, I thought you guys would enjoy the factor of that because, like, how crazy is it? A medicine cabinet. A medicine cabinet is what literally doomed this woman. And she they didn't, I believe, find her killer is what I found the information on, is they never found who actually murdered her. So that's even more terrifying because the other cases possibly could have been the same person and they wouldn't know whatsoever, really. So that's terrifying. Now, another popular one, which is our number 3, is the body under the bed. I know almost anybody that's ever looked up urban legends has probably heard this before. But in 2010, guests at a budget lounge in Minneapolis found the body of Sony Millbrook. I'm sorry if I pronounced any names wrong, who was a missing person and had fabric softener stuffed into the ceiling and the ceiling tiles to mask the smell of the body. It was just decaying in this room. It was just left there. And when you think about this, that means that newspapers had published this. So all the stories afterwards were possible copycats, but the factor that there was many tenants after his disappearance is a little terrifying because that means that multiple people slept on a bed that had a dead body rotting inside of it. And just the smell of fabric softener seems a little harsh for me to believe that it would work to mask the decay of a body smell. But you never know. Eventually, I'm sorry, it was a she. So it was apparently Sony is a girl's name, I guess. Okay. But her boyfriend was inevitably Lucas? I don't know how to say this. Moody was actually, he was found guilty of the crime. So they did find the killer, but that inspired a lot of copycats, in my opinion, I believe. Now, our number 4. This is personally one of my favorites of the actual true urban legends. There have been a lot of shows that have done this story. It is the legend of the Bunnyman, or Bunnyman Bridge. Now, anyone who has lived around Virginia from the 70s on has been exposed to the story of the Bunnyman. The story goes that a mental patient escaped and started hunting down bunnies in the forest and hanging them from the bridge, aka Bunnyman Bridge, later on put to, name from it. And as many started to, get gutted more and more, these bunnies were just being hung from this bridge. And even a few teens were hung in a similar manner. Yes, you heard me correctly. See, locals know better than to go to Bunnyman Bridge, and especially on Halloween night. Halloween night is the one night that is the most active for the bridge, and if you go to it, you will suffer a horrible fate, is how they put it. There's been a couple of series, like I think Scariest Places on Earth did a series on it, and there was a couple other ones that did a few series on them, but what actually has been recorded is a couple saw a man dressed in a white bunny suit that had bunny ears on, and he was screaming at them, "You're on private property," and inevitably was threatening them with a hatchet and threw said hatchet at them. I don't know about you, but somebody throwing a fucking hatchet at me, I'm running my happy self out of there. And it went through their windshield, shattering it. So they had the right to leave. 2 weeks later, another sighting occurred where a security guard spotted a hatchet that had been a hatchet-wielding man that had been chipping away at a porch railing on his property that he was surveilling. And the police tried, but they unsuccessfully never located this person. So to this day, nobody has ever been arrested for crimes, including 3 males and a female who were gutted and left on the underneath the bridge hanging. And I do apologize for anybody who has a hard time with descriptive stuff. That's all I'm going to go into detail. But it is a horrific case. You can look into it. Bunnyman Bridge or the Legend of the Bunnyman. It's very easy to find. I promise you that. It was easy for myself. Now, the number 5. The creepiest one in my opinion, because I had no clue about this, is there is a legend in Ohio called Lemonheads. Or Melonheads, I'm sorry. Melonheads. It is about a pale, sickly, and generally altered child with a giant head and razor-sharp teeth that simply loves killing babies. I know, this is horrifying to me. Like, I've lived in Ohio my whole life. Like, I've traveled out of state, but I've lived here my whole life, and I've never heard this urban legend, ever. You may also hear it in different variations, unfortunately. There isn't a whole lot on this. Basically, it's just like a creature that likes to terrorize people, and the reason why, as you can guess by the factor of the description, that they are oversized heads. That's why they're called melon heads. The shape of their head is the shape of a melon. But yeah, they like to terrorize and eat babies. My goodness. I lived in the state my whole life, and like the most I've ever known us for is corn and wheat. But to have an urban legend like that is just terrifying, because it is based on some accounts that police have. There are quite a few of sightings of these. And there is unfortunately no case of people coming forward and saying that they ate their babies. It's mostly older accounts that you'll find of that. But a creature like that living in my own state and I never knew, I feel like the Jersey Devil, you know what I mean? Like, whoa, that's a little bit crazy. But I just wanted to let you guys know some of those mostly true urban legends for today. I love you all, and hopefully I'll have more videos up for you soon. Have a good one, my spooky darlings. See you in the next one.